Hello everyone, a very warm welcome to you all for today's session. Topic of the day is nutrition and plants. Firstly, I'll talk how we human beings get nutrition. We get nutrition through the food we eat. It consists of various kinds of carbohydrates, proteins, vitamins, and minerals. But why do we need energy? We need energy to perform various kinds of molecular movements. Similarly, here we will be looking at nutrition and plants. But what is nutrition actually? Nutrition is the intake of food by the living organisms and its utilization by the living organisms. So, all these basic functions performed by the living organisms to sustain their life on earth is called life processes. Nutrition in plants follow two modes of nutrition. One is the autotrophic mode of nutrition, and another is the heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Auto here means self, and trophic means synthesis. But what do autotrophs do actually? They use inorganic sources in the form of carbon dioxide and water to produce simple forms of food. Plants take up nitrogen as inorganic nitrates or nitrites which are present in the soil. Nitrogen is a very important element for protein synthesis. Bacteria take up nitrogen from the atmosphere and then convert it into organic compounds. The examples of autotrophs are green plants and some bacteria. Green plants follow the process of photosynthesis to produce food, but bacteria and some green algae through the process of chemosynthesis, wherein they produce the chemicals through which they are able to generate the food. Now, the another mode of nutrition is the heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Hetero here means other, and trophic means synthesis. But what do heterotrophs do? They are not able to synthesize their food by themselves, as we human beings are not able to synthesize our food by ourselves. They depend on the food produced by the autotrophs for their survival. They need complex substances for survival. They break these substances using biocatalysts called enzymes, for example, animals and fungi. There is a question in NCERT: fungi follow which mode of nutrition? That is, heterotrophic mode of nutrition. For example, fungi break down the food material outside the body and then absorb it. Another example is the cuscuta, commonly known as amar bale, which grows as a parasite on the other plant. What is parasite actually? These are those organisms which live on the which fed upon the living organisms to obtain their food. Another is the saprophyte, which feed on the dead and decaying parts of the animal or plants to obtain their food. These all follow heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Now we will look at how actually the autotrophs produce their food. They produce their food through the process called photosynthesis. Now I'll explain what are the conditions that are necessary for photosynthesis. There are four conditions necessary for photosynthesis. Firstly is the light, another is the chlorophyll, third is the water, and fourth is the carbon dioxide. Now we will look at what is actually photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is the process by which autotrophs or producers take in substances from the outside and then convert it into stored form of energy, that's the starch. In the presence of light and chlorophyll, carbon dioxide and water get converted into glucose and oxygen. Glucose is then converted into complex form of substances that are called starch, which act as an energy reserve for the plants. Sometimes plants don't need energy, they store their food in the form of starch and then utilize that later. So this process occurs in special green organelles called chloroplast, which is present on the leaf surface. Chloroplasts contain the chlorophyll. Here is the equation. That's the 6 molecules of CO2 plus 6 molecules of water in presence of chlorophyll and sunlight produces glucose, that is C6H12O6, and the byproduct which is released in this process is the oxygen. That is very important for us, for the plants. Plants are very important for us because they provide us with oxygen that is important for us to sustain our life. We breathe that. Now, the steps of the photosynthesis. Firstly, the step is chlorophyll firstly absorb the light energy, and then these light energy is being converted into chemical energy, and this chemical energy is used to split the water molecules into hydrogen and oxygen. Then the third step is carbon dioxide is being reduced to carbohydrates. In certain cases, this step do not occur immediately one after the other. For example, there is an exception that in the other plants take up carbon dioxide at the night and prepare an intermediate which is acted upon by the energy absorbed by the chlorophyll during the day. Now we will look at the cross section of a leaf. The leaf cross section consists of a waxy cuticle, upper epidermis, palisade parenchyma, spongy parenchyma, and the lower epidermis. This is being divided into three sections. Firstly, it's the upper epidermis. Middle one is the middle epidermis, also known as mesophyll. Third is the lower epidermis. Upper epidermis consists of waxy cuticle, and below that it consists of palisade and spongy parenchyma. It also consists of air spaces. And in the lower epidermis are present the guard cells, which are responsible for the opening of minute pores called stomata. So how actually the gaseous exchange occur in the leaves? Let's take a look at that. So what do actually stomata do? Plants obtain carbon dioxide through small opening on the surface of leaves called stomata. They are present on the surface of leaves, root and stem. So here you can clearly see the guard cells which are responsible for the opening and closing of stomata. This is the structure of stomata which is responsible for the gaseous exchange which occurs. So how do plants obtain carbon dioxide? Stomata, these are the openings present on the epidermis of the leaves, stems and other plant organs. What do stomata do? Stomata allow gases such as carbon dioxide, water vapors and oxygen to diffuse in and out of the internal tissues of the plant. They are open when the photosynthesis is required, leading to loss of water vapors. They remain closed when photosynthesis is not required. The opening and closing of pore is a function of the guard cell, as I clearly mentioned before. Guard cells swell when the water flows into them and causing the stomatal pore to open. Similarly, the pore closes if the guard cells shrink. So these guard cells are probably open during the day and being closed during the night. So now I'll be sharing you is chlorophyll essential for photosynthesis through an activity where you'll be able to develop a better understanding through this example. So what's the experiment is? Firstly, take a potted plants with variegated leaves and keep that plant in a dark room for 3 days, and then now keep the sunlight for about 6 hours. Then pluck a leaf from the plant, from the particular plant, and then mark the green areas in them, and then trace them on a sheet of paper. Then dip the leaf in boiling water for a few minutes. After that, immerse this into a beaker containing alcohol. So firstly, carefully place the above beaker in a water bath and heat till the alcohol begins to boil. Now dip the leaf in a dilute solution of iodine for a few minutes. Then take out the leaf and rinse off the iodine solution. So the main motive behind is what is actually the observation you get through this experiment. Only those regions which were green in color turned blue-black. Iodine turned blue-black. So what the conclusion is that chlorophyll is necessary for photosynthesis. So hope you like today's session, and thank you and have a nice day. Stay safe, stay healthy.